The 2000s might be the most complete stretch football has ever had. Zidane at his peak, Ronaldo coming back from an injury that should have ended him, and Ronaldinho turning serious matches into moments you still remember frame by frame. And while all of that is happening, Messi and Cristiano are quietly stepping into the spotlight, and by the end of the decade, they are ready to take over the entire sport. Those years gave us tournaments that still feel unreal, rivalries that felt personal, scandals that shook leagues, goals that became landmarks, comebacks that made no sense, and even the hairstyles that instantly date the footage the second you see it. So let's rewind the tape and run it properly, starting in 2000, year by year, until the moment the modern game takes over. At the turn of the millennium, football was changing fast. The game that used to feel local and traditional was getting pulled into something bigger. Global TV, global money, global attention. The Premier League and the Champions League had already been rebranded in the 90s, and by 2000 the floodgates were open. Wages exploded, players became celebrities, and clubs started thinking like brands. And by then, everyone already knew the word that summed up the decade: Galácticos. Florentino Perez, after becoming president of Real Madrid, started building a project that sounded unreal even in a video game. Luis Figo, signed from Barcelona's biggest rival. Zinedine Zidane, who became the most expensive player in the world. Those transfers didn't just make headlines, they set the tone for everything that followed. Football stopped being only sport. It became show business. And the decade began with a tournament that still feels like football at full speed. In the summer of 2000, Europe followed the tournament held in Belgium and the Netherlands. Euro 2000 is still seen as a gold standard of international football. There were no easy matches, no safe games, just constant attacking football. And towering above it all was a man who looked like he was playing a different sport, Zinedine Zidane. After the triumph at the 1998 World Cup at home, many expected a drop-off. Instead, Zidane reached his peak. What he did in the summer of 2000 can't be captured by statistics. It was pure art. His touch was softer than velvet. His vision of the pitch felt like a grandmaster calculating 20 moves ahead. In the semi-final against Portugal, that match where Luis Figo ripped off his shirt in despair, Zidane scored the golden goal penalty. But the main course was the final in Rotterdam against Italy. The Azzurri, with the unbreakable Toldo and a young Totti, were leading and already getting ready to pop champagne. The Italian bench was hugging, waiting for the final whistle, but football is football. Sylvain Wiltord equalized in the 94th minute, when hope was already dead. And then, in extra time, something happened that will live forever. David Trezeguet, the young Juventus striker, hit a first-time volley that tore the net and broke Italian hearts. The golden goal rule, which would soon be abolished, gave France the title. They became the first team to win the Euros as reigning world champions. It was the grand finale of that French generation and Zidane's personal triumph, the face of the era, right at the start of it. But while Europe admired Zidane, the rest of the world was holding its breath for a different kind of story, one that looked impossible. Ronaldo Luis Nazario de Lima, or simply Ronaldo. In the late 1990s, he was the best player on the planet, a phenomenon, but his knees seemed to be made of glass. The horrific injury for Inter against Lazio, when he collapsed onto the grass screaming in pain, shocked the entire world. Doctors said he might never walk normally again, let alone run. 2 years of surgeries, pain, depression, and exhausting rehab. No one believed in him. No one except Luis Felipe Scolari, Brazil's national team coach. Brazil barely crawled into the final tournament, and their chances weren't rated highly. But Brazil had an attacking trio that would later be remembered as iconic. Rivaldo, at the peak of his craft, a young and fearless Ronaldinho, and a resurrected Ronaldo. That tournament became Ronaldo's personal crusade against fate. He changed his haircut, leaving that ridiculous little triangle of fringe, just so journalists would talk about his hair instead of his damaged knees. And it worked. He flew across the pitch, the final in Yokohama, Brazil versus Germany, a clash of two philosophies. Against Ronaldo stood Oliver Kahn, the German titan, the best goalkeeper in the world, carrying a fairly average team on his shoulders. It was a duel of nerves, and Ronaldo won it. 2 goals past Kahn, tears on the bench after he was substituted, the World Cup in his hands. It wasn't just a tournament win, it was the victory of will over a body that refused to cooperate. The phenomenon returned and wrote himself into immortality. While the world was mesmerized by the Brazilians, England had its own thriller unfolding. The early 2000s Premier League became a battlefield of two ideologies: Arsene Wenger's aesthetic idealism versus Sir Alex Ferguson's ruthless tyranny. Arsenal versus Manchester United was war. Roy Keane versus Patrick Vieira in the tunnel at Highbury, a moment where you could cut the hatred with a knife. And in that furnace, Arsenal did the impossible in the 2003-04 season. The Invincibles. 38 matches, 26 wins, 12 draws, 0 defeats. Wenger's team played the football of the future. Thierry Henry in those years wasn't just a striker, he was an athlete ahead of his time. His runs, his side foot finishes into the far corner, his arrogance backed up by talent. All of it made Arsenal the most stylish team in Europe. Robert Pires, Dennis Bergkamp, Sol Campbell. They turned football into art. But every fairy tale invites a villain. And in 2004, he arrived. At a press conference in London, a young Portuguese coach, fresh off winning the Champions League with Porto, looked into the cameras and said, "Please don't call me arrogant, but I am European champion, and I think I'm a special one." Mourinho didn't care about Arsenal's beauty or United's tradition. He cared only about results. He built a blue machine. Petr Cech, John Terry, Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba. That spine broke the old order. Chelsea conceded only 15 goals in the entire 2004-05 season, setting a Premier League record for defensive reliability. And just when it felt like football was becoming predictable, the decade stopped making sense. First came Greece at Euro 2004, a tournament that was supposed to crown Portugal's golden generation, led by a young Cristiano Ronaldo, and the legendary Figo. Instead, became a Greek tragedy for the hosts. Otto Rehhagel built a team that defended with Spartan discipline. Greece won the tournament without playing beautiful football, but with perfect organization. The tears of young Ronaldo after the final felt like a preview of an obsession that would define his career. And then came Istanbul, 2005. Champions League final, Milan versus Liverpool. By halftime, the Italians were leading 3-0. They might have had one of the most stacked squads you'll ever see. Maldini, Nesta, Stam, Pirlo, Seedorf, Kaká, Shevchenko, Crespo. They completely outclassed the English side. In Liverpool's dressing room there was despair. Fans in the stands sang through their tears. What happened in the second half is still hard to explain. 6 minutes of madness, 3-3, and Jerzy Dudek's saves in the penalty shootout. That match became proof that in football, nothing is impossible until the final whistle. While tacticians drew schemes, one man simply played. Ronaldinho Gaucho in the middle of the 2000s wasn't just a footballer, he was a force of nature. He arrived at a depressed Barcelona and brought the sun back. His style, Joga Bonito, play beautifully, became the cultural code of a generation. He walked onto the pitch smiling, danced with the ball, humiliated defenders with elasticos and no-look passes, but did it in a way that even opponents couldn't get angry. November 2005, El Clásico in Madrid. Ronaldinho destroyed Real's defense, scoring 2 goals after solo runs where Sergio Ramos and Ivan Helguera looked like mannequins. And then something incredible happened. The Santiago Bernabéu crowd, who hated Barcelona on a genetic level, stood up and applauded a Barca player. It was the highest recognition, a moment when the beauty of the game rose above a century of rivalry. Ronaldinho won the Ballon d'Or, the 2006 Champions League, and the hearts of millions. He burned out quickly, preferring nightlife to training. But at his peak, he gave people pure joy, a joy that even the greatest machines of the next era couldn't replicate in the same way. The 2006 World Cup in Germany became the final act of Zidane's great career. He returned to the national team to pull it out of the mud. The old master, surrounded by skepticism, played the tournament of his life. His performance against Brazil in the quarterfinal is still argued as one of the greatest World Cup displays ever. He chipped the ball over Ronaldo, danced around Kaká, floated over the pitch, the Panenka into the crossbar, and down into Buffon's net. And then the moment that froze time, extra time. Marco Materazzi's provocation. Zidane turns and headbutts the Italian in the chest. Red card. That image of Zidane walking into the tunnel, passing the World Cup trophy without even looking at it, became a symbol of tragic genius. Italy won on penalties, but the world talked only about the king's exit. That tournament also became the backdrop for the massive Calciopoli scandal in Italy. Juventus were sent to Serie B, Milan, Lazio, and Fiorentina were punished. Italian football sank into chaos, but that chaos also united Marcello Lippi's national team and helped them win world gold against everything. By 2006, the landscape had shifted again. The Romantics were still here, but you could already feel the next era loading in. The Champions League final in Moscow became the peak of the Premier League. Manchester United versus Chelsea. Rain flooding Luzhniki. Cristiano Ronaldo, who had transformed from a skinny dribbler into an athletic monster, scored a header, hanging in the air. Lampard equalized. Penalty shootout. Ronaldo misses, a miss that could have cost him everything, and John Terry slips on the wet turf with the trophy already in Chelsea's hands. Van der Sar makes the saves. United are champions. Ronaldo collapsed face first into the muddy grass and cried. That year he won his first Ballon d'Or, scoring 42 goals in the season. But in Barcelona, an answer was already being prepared. In the summer of 2008, Barcelona hired Pep Guardiola. Young, inexperienced, the captain of Cruyff's legendary dream team. The first thing he did was say Ronaldinho, Deco, and Eto'o weren't needed. Eto'o stayed for one more season, but his fate was sealed. Pep went all in. He built the team around young Lionel Messi and a Xavi-Iniesta partnership. He implemented a philosophy of total ball control, positional play, and a murderous press. The 6-second rule: if you lose the ball, you win it back immediately. The 2008-09 season was a revelation. Football had never seen dominance like this. The 6-2 humiliation of Real Madrid at the Bernabéu was a declaration. Messi as a false nine became an unsolvable riddle for defenders. May 27, 2009. The Olympic Stadium in Rome. A dream matchup. Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United versus Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. It wasn't just a clash of two teams. It was a clash of two philosophies. United were the reigning champions and arguably the most physically powerful counter-attacking team of that era. Ferguson was confident. He had the attacking trio of Ronaldo, Rooney, and Park, and a defensive wall of Vidic and Ferdinand. In the first 10 minutes, Ronaldo fired several dangerous shots to test Victor Valdés. It looked like Premier League power would crush the technical but fragile Catalans. Ferguson's plan was working. High press, aggression, speed. United came out ready to impose their physicality. But football is a game of moments. In the 10th minute, Andrés Iniesta, a genius who sees corridors where none exist, slipped a pass to Samuel Eto'o. The Cameroonian sold Vidic with a feint and finished into the near corner. 1-0, and United's magic evaporated. They realized they were facing something they'd never seen. Not in England, not in Europe. A team that simply did not give the ball away. Xavi Hernandez took control. He turned midfield into his property, distributing passes with surgical precision. Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta. That triangle became a Bermuda Triangle for United's midfield. The climax came in the second half. Xavi delivered a perfect cross, and in the box, among giants like Ferdinand and Vidic, the smallest player on the pitch rose into the air, Lionel Messi. He hung there as if challenging gravity and headed the ball into the far corner, past Van der Sar. His boot flew off as he landed, and he ran to celebrate holding it in his hands. That goal became the symbol of a power shift. It was Messi's 38th goal of the season, a 2-0 win. Barcelona completed the treble, La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and the Champions League. Guardiola's football was recognized as the benchmark. Later that year, Messi would take the Ballon d'Or from Cristiano Ronaldo, officially launching a rivalry that defined a generation. The defeat in Rome was a blow for Madrid. Watching Barcelona's triumph was unbearable. Florentino Perez, returning to the presidency that same summer of 2009, decided he'd had enough. The 2009 summer transfer window changed the market forever. Perez decided to buy success immediately. First came Kaká from Milan for 67 million euros. Then Karim Benzema from Lyon. Then Xabi Alonso from Liverpool. But the biggest blow was saved for last. United didn't want to let their superstar go, but the player's desire and a 94 million euro check made it happen. Cristiano Ronaldo moved to Madrid. His presentation drew 80,000 people at the Santiago Bernabéu, more than many finals. People came just to look at the man who was supposed to stop Messi. And that's how the 2000s ended. A stretch that began with Galácticos and Zidane, ended with the handoff to a new world, Messi already ruling Barcelona, and Cristiano arriving in Madrid to challenge him. Looking back, the 2000s feel like the perfect balance. The game was modern enough for every moment to be captured forever, but still wild enough for real chaos to exist. We got the last peak of the pure artists, the miracle comebacks, the shock winners, and the nights that still don't feel real when you rewatch them. And by the time it ends, you can see the future in plain sight, not a memory, but a takeover in real time. That's why people keep coming back to the 2000s. It wasn't just great football. It was football that felt alive.